Hello, welcome to season 3
Yes.
of our Sonia and Richard show.
Brilliant.
So last week we didn't have a podcast, we're just taking a little break, but now we're back. And today we're just going to be speaking about guardianship and parental rights. There are a few questions surrounding this, and I think it's really good that we can share some knowledge surrounding that, especially when it comes to having those put in your wills and your trust.
Definitely.
Would you want to expand on that a little bit, or do you want me to get into the questions?
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, guardianship is a really important topic, especially for parents of young children, which we're going to get into. And if there's one reason to make sure you have a will, that is definitely the reason. Definitely to have a guardianship clause put in there. So, yeah, let's jump straight in. Jump straight in.
So, first and basic question.
Yeah.
What is a guardian?
That's a really good point. So, a guardian is someone who has been nominated by the parent to have parental rights, actual parental rights over their children under the age of 18. So, if a parent dies while the child is young, both parents now, so the mother and the father, then the guardians will be appointed legally. So basically they have parental rights over the children of the parent, so they actually act as if they were
the parent.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do people choose their guardians for their children? Is there like a certain protocol, or they choose someone that they trust?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's different cultures may have different ways of doing things. I mean, some cultures have godparents, and people take that very seriously, and so parents who are drafting their will may, assign the godparent because they trust them implicitly to have parental rights over their child or children. It could just be good friends over the years, family members. Yeah, it just depends on the parent who they think could raise a child as good or better than them.
Okay.
So I'm sure every parent would have some idea of who that might be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what happens if a guardian is not appointed? How is that process kind of carried out to find a guardian for that child?
The child will become a ward of the state, and literally it will be the government's job to find a parent, someone with parental rights for the child. And this is a problem. I've seen it firsthand where parents have died, children are young, and the parents have done a good job in terms of leaving funds for the children, go to private school and all that kind of stuff, but they hadn't nominated a legal guardian for the child. And so a family member may step up to act in that role, and the local authority will be happy to say, okay, well, you volunteered, you're a family member. We can't see any overt challenges in terms of child sex register or anything like that. So yeah, we're happy for you to be the guardian. And really, that guardian is not looking after the child; they're just for utilizing the funds, not really bonding with the child. So the child has a really horrible childhood. They've already just lost their parents, and they've got some horrible uncle, auntie, grandparent. It happens. It's real. Who's not really looking after them, and so leaving such a weighty decision to a third party who don't have any idea about how you are as a parent and who the new parents are going to be. It's definitely a dangerous situation to put that child in, I think.
Okay, well, thanks for that. One question that came to mind is just the financial support or the responsibility of that guardian for that child. Is it a thing where the deceased parents sorry leave like money for them or something for them to provide for that child, or is it on them to have that financial responsibility to provide for that child?
Well, technically the guardian, once they're nominated and it accepts, are financially responsible for that child, but it's always good practice for the parent to leave money aside, whether it's for a life insurance policy or something like that, so that the guardian are not necessarily struggling to raise their child, their new child, in a way that would be in line with how the deceased parent would have expected it.
Mhm.
So most parents would, by default, set something up for the child, financially, definitely.
Okay. So when it comes to like mirror roles or
Mm.
people that are married, um, how is the guardianship managed if one passes away?
It depends on the parent. Some parents say, well, a guardianship will kick in on the death of the second parent. Depends on the dynamics of the relationship. Both parents, husband and wife, will choose a guardian. Sometimes they match, sometimes they don't.
Mhm.
And they can, if they're matching, normally it's, well, whoever dies last will, that's when the clause will kick in. But sometimes it may be on, if the mother dies, and the father might say, they might want the the child to have a guardian, nominated on the first death. And there's a lot of blended families today, which is why there is a choice whether it should be done on first death or second death.
Mhm.
So, for example, there's, the wife may have had children from another relationship, so with the husband, and God forbid, not that they don't, if it's not the child of their new spouse, then they may not want to give that child parental rights. They may do. I've seen
Mhm.
different variations. They may prefer to give it to a grandparent or sibling or friend, to act as the guardian or to support the father. There's different variations, really.
Okay.
Mm.
All right. Well, thank you. Um, what about, are there different rights when it comes to a vulnerable or disabled child?
I think, I don't know what I'm saying rights. I think any parent who has a child who's vulnerable would definitely be putting things in place for their care. So finances definitely be one thing. And then who would raise that child, would definitely be another. So it depends on of the complexity or severity of the vulnerability or disability.
Mhm.
It might be that it be the child be raised by a specialist unit. If another parent couldn't cope by themselves, maybe the family will rally round to support. It is really down to the individual parent to nominate who they want the guardian to be.
And would that be stated in the will?
Yeah, definitely,
What about
without
the
doubt.
trust?
We don't normally use trust for stating guardian, so that's
Mm.
definitely a will
Thing.
scenario.
Okay.
Trust is normally for the financial element
Mhm.
to maintain the child, financially, but
Yeah.
in terms of, the most important thing about guardianship, it must be in writing. Now, it
Okay.
can be done technically separately to a will, but most people just don't get around to writing who they want their child to, who they want to act as a guardian for their child.
Yeah.
So getting it done in the will just wraps it up nicely. It is in writing, it's stipulated in advance of a second event or a death event, and it's done. So rather than have it done under the Children's Act, during lifetime, it can be done, and it is advised to be done via the will, with the clause in there. So definitely, important.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
Mm,
And my last question is when it comes to stepchildren,
mm.
you've already touched on blended families. Is that recognized for parental rights?
Oh yeah, definitely. We have to talk about it. We have to talk about it because this is where things can go wrong. It's not just about the finances going wrong with blended families in terms of a disinheritance, but again, if a child, let's things happen in families, right? Maybe the child don't get on with their new step parent, and they may not necessarily, want to have that step parent acting as their to have parental rights over them. So if the natural biological parent is aware of this,
Mhm.
then it's important that this is stipulated in the will as to who, if there is a death event before the child reaches 18, ideally who would be the person to raise that child in terms of having parental rights over them. It
Mhm.
might even be an older sibling, yeah.
Okay.
But that is what these are the discussions that we have to make sure the planning is done correctly. And another thing that's really important is our child arrangement orders.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, there are parents who are just unscrupulous and just not very nice, and so the other parent in the relationship have had to put stipulations in place to prevent the parent who's either abusive or whatever it might be from seeing the child or having access to the child. And that is also very, very important that it's recognized and put as part of the will, so that there's no confusion during the probate process as to who the new guardian should be. So we know that also who the new guardian shouldn't be, to prevent any kind of abuse or anything that's happened in the past. So these things are really, really important to discuss, without a doubt. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
No problem at all.
That's my questions.
It's been a pleasure.
Have you got any more to add before we finish
No, I
this
mean,
podcast?
guardianship is an important topic, and I just really urge any parents out there, if you know you've got young children and you don't have a will, that's the primary reason to get one. The absolutely primary reason to get one. You just want your children are your heart, your soul, your life, and God forbid you just didn't do something for them, which you could have done through lack of knowledge or ignorance or just poor timing, whatever it might be. So if that's the only one reason to get the will sorted out, I don't care if you're 18 or 88, well, maybe not 88, but 18, get a will sorted out. If you've got a child or children, have a guardianship clause put in there. It's absolutely imperative to do. Seriously.
Well, thank you so much. So that is the podcast for today. I was going to announce what we have next week.
Okay, yeah.
Let me see if I wrote it down. I hope I did. No, I don't. But next week, we will be back.
Yeah.
That would be episode 2.
Okay.
But if you have any questions or any feedback or want to know more about guardianship and parental rights, we also do have the Once Academy that we just launched. Actually,
so this is okay, hot cakes. Is that the right term? People are signing up for that, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Really excited to see.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done so yet, absolutely get onto our website and sign up. It is absolutely free. And it's kind of like our Netflix. Can I say that live? Well, I've said it now anyway. So for estate planning. All right. So if you really just want to learn in your time, binge watch the training, and become a really a subject matter expert in this area, so you can make the right choices for your family members and for yourself, and take the appropriate action, knowing that you've got the right knowledge, then the Once Academy is definitely for you. So please do check that out.
Yeah, please do. We just launched it last week. So please have a look at that. We have a playlist. We have a few videos up, but every week you want to be uploading more new content. So it is a work in progress.
Without a doubt.
But please do check it out, and we'd love to see you signed up. But I think that's all for today.
Cool.
So yeah, thank you for watching.
And see you in the next episode. Cheers.